our friend Kunle Campbell. Welcome, Kunle.
Thanks, Juliana. And thanks for saying my name right. You didn't even ask me how to pronounce my name and you just got it bang on. So thank you.
Did I pronounce it right?
Yeah, you got it right. Exactly. First attempt. So cool.
I mean, it's okay. Thank God.
Yeah, good. No,
you probably get called Kunle because that's how my husband pronounced your name, American.
Right. Okay.
There we go. So I'm here with Kunle Campbell, pronounce his name right. And Kunle is an outsourced e-commerce CMO and advisor. And basically, he coaches ambitious retail teams focused on unlocking growth through acquisitions and customer lifetime value and user experience optimization. He's also the host of the Two Times e-commerce podcast, and he has interviewed, over 200 direct-to-consumer e-commerce leaders. If you probably recognize him from the podcast, I'm a listener a bit.
Oh wow, thanks.
Yeah, I also invited myself in it. So Kunle right now.
You're coming in 2021 for sure.
I'm coming. So just wanted to make sure I get you on live with this. So we're gonna talk today about building resilient lifecycle ad funnels that acquire but at the same time retain customers. So without further ado, I'm gonna hide myself.
Okay.
And let you take the stage, and I'll see you at QA.
Thank you so much, Juliana. A massive pleasure, bringing me on, and thanks for, to the OmniConvert team for essentially hosting this wonderful conference. Now, today I want to talk about. Let's try and swap this over. Juliana, can you? Is my screen okay? Should I?
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Right, cool. So I want to talk about like building resilient life cycle ad funnels that acquire and retain customers. Now, this is not a technical presentation. This is a strategic presentation. Let me explain why. Basically, I am an e-commerce coach, a mentor. I have a diverse background, essentially in traffic acquisition from a paid standpoint, largely social ads. I also have done, Google ads in the past. I also do UX audits from a conversion rate optimization standpoint and redesigns of checkouts. I'm a host of the 2X e-commerce podcast show, as well as a resident e-commerce expert at the Facebook News Accelerator, group, which is like a workshop helping like local news businesses across the world. Now, the reason I want to be very strategic in this presentation is because I have seen the good, the bad, and the ugly in like from a growth standpoint. I've seen businesses move from $0 to $5 million in revenue and they were not profitable and had to just close shop. And I've seen businesses move from 0 to 10 million and they've been incredibly profitable. I've seen struggling e-commerce businesses that appear to be, successful at the top, but because they don't have the funnel foundations, they just don't move. Now, what we're going to talk about is traffic diversification as it applies to your funnel. So taking a very brand-driven approach and the limitations of search marketing as a whole. Then in the paid section, why, CAC, which is customer acquisition cost, is rising, limitations of a social ad first strategy. A lot of new e-commerce businesses that were built, 5, 6, 4 years, even 3 years ago, have had a social ad first strategy. It is limiting in 2020 and 2021 moving forward, and what you should do about it, and just what your media mix should look like, moving forward, and how it applies to your funnel, your entire funnel stack. So let's go. Now, these are two businesses basically that I have worked with, and I have decided to sort of reduce to take out the time cohort. So let's just imagine this is 6 months worth of data, but they're the exact same time stamps cohort. Brand A generates 87% of its traffic from 3 sources. It's Google Ads, Google Organic, and Direct. They also have a bit of Bing coming in, but for a large part, 87% of their traffic comes from 3 sources. Now, brand B has 6 sources of traffic, all about the 20 to 15% mark each. And those top six generate about 80%, 79% of traffic. So they have a massive top of funnel following on YouTube. That YouTube following, which is in the hundreds of thousands of dollars of followers or subscribers, has allowed them to spill that over into some really chunky Facebook pages, as well as their Instagram. So they're active on Facebook and Instagram as a result of their success on YouTube. And they get massive traffic from Google as a result of brand name search, basically, because they've been able to build out content related to the products they sell on YouTube. And it's just blown up in that respect. And then they also use Google ads, Facebook ads, which I work with them very closely on, Criteo, retargeting, and they use Klaviyo for their email, lifecycle marketing. They have over 2 million combined community that pretty much follow their brand across social media platforms. Now, which of these two brands do you think is doing better, brand A or brand B, from not just a revenue standpoint, but from profitability standpoint? When you look at this sort of footprint, this traffic diversification footprint, basically it's brand B. The reason why brand B is able to do much better is because they have diversified their traffic, for the one thing, and they also have a core source of attention, which is YouTube, which then filters down across platforms. Brand A is struggling, or was struggling, at the time when we looked into their accounts, and they're looking to further diversify their traffic. They're pretty much focused on AdWords, brand A, and as the major way they acquire customers, AdWords and SEO essentially. And then brand B focuses on people, right? On the attention of people on YouTube. And they're able to really, really siphon it down towards, getting a brand that people search for and people want to engage with. It's also there are many other nuances in this, but these are the basics from a marketing standpoint you should be aware of. The other thing that's unheard of is these two brands are in the United States, and the cost per purchase for brand B, as a result of all of the organic traffic that's built top of funnel, is under $12. Right? That's ridiculously cheap. The average order value is about 150. Same thing with brand A, but their CPA, brand A CPA, is going towards the $70 mark, right? And brand B from Facebook only is about $12. And then when you lay in the spend in other channels, it comes to about $40. That's as a result of the attention they're getting top of funnel. We're going to talk a bit, more about, that later. Now, this is Tej Hanley. I interviewed the founder of Tej Hanley on my podcast a few weeks ago, and their strategy essentially is they run a YouTube channel upfront. They're pushing about $20 million in revenue, and I don't have access to their Google Analytics, but what we have here is their similar web. In the similar web, you'd notice that they've got a massive organic reach, organic search as a source of traffic, as well as social, which we'll flesh out below, and direct. Now, if you look at the organic and you move that to the right, you look at the SEMrush, stats on the right, you notice that they've got branded traffic about 28%, and then 71% of non-branded traffic, right? If you look below from their social, right, they have almost 98% basically coming from YouTube, right? Because they have a YouTube channel with about 50,000 subscribers, and they have been able to just hire a dedicated, well, they didn't even hire him. They go into equity partnership with a YouTuber who has about 6 million followers, right? So basically these guys were able to be profitable within the first 6 months of business, and then they were able to hit over $10 million in the first 2 years of business in revenue, and they're still profitable. And this year they're looking to cross the $20 million mark. So this is just one example. I'm going to give you something much more familiar. This is Gymshark. Now, Gymshark, as we know, they're the poster child of Shopify or e-commerce, of fast growth e-commerce. But when you look under the hood, when you look at what they're doing, it's pretty phenomenal. Take a look at the SEMrush graph on the right-hand side. As much as they get 47% of all traffic, according to SimilarWeb, from organic search, almost 80% of all that traffic are searches related to their brand, right? So they have over 800,000 searches for Gymshark in the United States alone. No, in the United States alone, in the US alone. Just that is mind-boggling. And if you look at that, they've got brand name searches in the millions, basically. And what that has done essentially is created this huge company that's well over $200 million in revenue, in annual revenue. So essentially the funnel looks like this. They obviously work with a ton of influencers on Instagram and YouTube, and they sort of seed the awareness across the board to potential customers that are likely to buy their products. And these customers may not necessarily be ready to buy when they consume the content on YouTube or on Instagram. So what happens is those people then go onto Google and search for the brand on Google, and then they get to purchase. That's what it looks like. Now, this is movement watches who have been sold to Movado. It's a similar story. They got 87.5% branded traffic. You could see 90,000 people search for MVMT watches online. Another 60,500 people search for MVMT. They have glasses also. So they've got 87.5% of search terms for their name. It's insane. And if you look at their social, it's very, very similar. You've got YouTube heading it, because in YouTube, clicking on YouTube is just easier. Then there's Facebook, then there's Instagram, and then Pinterest, LinkedIn, and others actually take the rest of it. But look at the two major graphs that matter: direct and organic, right? So it's a very similar pattern, and this is a 90 million plus a year business, and it's profitable, by the way. This is Fashion Nova. These guys are massive. They've been around since 2014, I believe. 6 years. They're doing over $500 million, dollars in revenue. And you'd notice again, organic search accounts for almost 40% of traffic, and then direct accounts for another 45 or 46% of traffic. Now, if you look under the hood for organic, you notice that the organic is not people searching necessarily for women's dresses or, mini skirts or what have you. It's 75% of traffic that comes from organic search is branded. It's got the word Fashion Nova in it. And the way they do it again is they seed a lot of hauls, fashion hauls, on YouTube, a lot of, models, a lot of Instagram celebrities, obviously Instagram, influencers, and also celebrities wear their products. And as a result of wearing their products, they, create that appetite, that awareness of their brand, and people just go in and search for their brand. Why am I saying this? I'm just saying that, it's a very branded approach, above the line branded approach, where they're predominantly using influencers on social media or on the internet, on social, to influence actual humans, to influence audiences. They're thinking about their audiences as humans, essentially. It's very important we take note of that. Now, I just want to, there's an article I wrote a few years ago, which actually got a lot of people, calling me in. It was like, why SEO will not build, will not grow your fashion e-commerce business. You can just search for it. And I gave an example around the fact that, like, if you search for like maxi dresses on Google, you find that there are 201,000 people searching for maxi dresses in the United States. Now, if you look at the particular brands, this is very recent. This is what I did a few days ago. Look at the particular brands that actually rank for maxi dresses. This is the top 10. You notice that the brand name search. So what I've put there is the brand name search volume on the left of the brands that are featured on page 1 of maxi dresses are they have a lot more volume of people searching for the brand name dress. They're obviously for the brand name search, there are obviously benefits of ranking for this term, commercial benefits, obviously, but like you also have to look at how it pales into insignificance when you compare it to branded, brand name search. There's 5 million, 1 million, 13 million, almost there's 823,000, 1 million, and 3.4. The only anomaly here is the 50,000 from I think it's a new DTC brand, there that's ranking. So the next thing I want to talk about really is acquiring first-time customers. What is happening now is that your customer acquisition cost, which is CAC, calculated by your marketing cost, divided by your new customers. Basically, it's a cost for acquiring new customers, your CAC, is largely on the rise. And because of the competition and the rise of e-commerce and, just the competition in social ads now, I'm talking about Facebook and all the other platforms, the cost to acquire customers now is hardly ever profitable, especially when your price point is, below, say, $90. It's just not very profitable. And even if you have a high AOV product, maybe your AOV is like $300, you have to be very careful in, how you execute towards making that $300 actually profitable. But CAC and from the cost of acquiring new customers, typically would start from like about $50, $40-$50 to acquire one first-time customer. So what you have to do is really, this is the unit economics, right? So let's say your AOV is $300, your CAC is $50. This is on the first purchase. Your tax and shipping $15, cost of goods $30, and variable cost $10. You lose $5, off the back of that. So you'd need a second purchase, or you need to increase that AOV to something higher in order to make a profit. If you don't have any other products to increase the AOV, you're stuck, right? And that's why many brands don't actually really, grow. Now, in the second example, you have a situation in which your AOV is $100, your CAC is now $0 because they're in your database and all you're doing is lifecycle marketing. You could put, there's no longer CAC. The marketing expense is there, but it's not CAC. Maybe you throw in like $10 for the marketing expense. Your tax and shipping, cost of goods, variable cost, which could be, marketing. You get a profitability of $50. So a lot of brands need to sort of build out a plan or a funnel that always looks at a second purchase within a reasonable timeline. And that reasonable timeline should not exceed 12 months. Now, if it exceeds 12 months, then the variable you have to adjust will be your AOV, your average order value. You'd have to have a considerable average order value to make a once a year purchase work. Okay, it's just down to the math. It's down to the unit economics. So if you're doing a single purchase a year, then you should be selling like at the 3 to 5 plus 300, dollar mark, which could be furniture, or furniture would not even require you to spend annually. So, you have to be really, really careful with what you select to sell, and to do the math. So CPM inflation is a thing. CPMs are rising. They rise over the years. So on the left-hand side, we had CPMs in 2020 and CPC in 2020. And you notice in January it falls just due to the pump in Q4, and it just keeps rising. So in Q4, we're going to expect CPMs to be like $20. And this is the US. This is from RevealBot, by the way. The interesting thing is that as much as CPM inflation is rising, your CPM is rising. If you look at this this data from WAC, you notice that CPM in other platforms, such as magazines, radio, TV, and newspapers, is falling. That's because attention is moving, fast moving from offline to online. So what you may start to consider is, how am I going to arbitrage some of that attention from platforms that have lower CPMs, like radio, for instance. Someone came on my podcast and talks about how well radio did for their brand, above the line, for brand uplift, for getting people to just search for their brand. So you could consider ways of arbitraging from these other channels, so you have a call to action to your digital assets. So these are the three variables you really need to think about, when you're trying to get into, to really deliver profitability quicker. Your average order value, right? So this is really through product bundling or product launches. Your purchase frequency, right? Which has to be, in most cases, within a 12-month, period. So you could, claw back your investments, and then maximizing customer lifetime value, so really just looking at, how your relationship with, your customers over time, just measuring how much they're spending with you over time. I still prefer to keep it to the 12-month mark, regardless of what you sell, because, most financial statements are based on 12 months. Others will beg to differ. So others put it to two or maybe 3 years. But I think, if you look at it at 12-month, just the way you look at your financial statement, it will make more sense. So a big problem with like a social advertising focused funnel, that's what I mean by that, is a funnel focused on Facebook ads, right? Top of funnel, where they look at Facebook interest, lookalike audiences, and custom audiences. They're trying to target like cold traffic with exclusions of warm traffic as their top of funnel, as the only top of funnel. It's just makes CAC very difficult to crack, your customer acquisition cost. Now, a mid funnel, typically in a social advertising focused funnel, you have like your warm audience, your warm audience targeting. So once you've brought the cold audience and they've taken specific actions or interacted with your page, or taken actions essentially on your site, they convert to your mid funnel, and then you retarget them to in the event to making a sale. Now, your bottom of funnel, obviously, like your shopping campaigns, where they're very, very, shop focused. Now, retargeting goes on between, whoever you're targeting, mid funnel and bottom of funnel. And then your life cycle, marketing will help, with automated email flows to either, capture abandoned carts or abandoned sessions, or actually, get an upsell or cross sell, further down the line, like a second sale, right? So having lifecycle marketing is important in, social advertising funnel, and that normally is a saving grace. Now, obviously, with lifecycle marketing, it then sort of delivers a repurchase at some point, and then once that's achieved, profitability should be sealed by then. But there's a different way to look at things. Before I talk about the different way to look at things, I want to talk about the traditional, media mix in this scenario I've just shown you, whereby the number one way of driving traffic to the site is, which is flawed, by the way, is social advertising. It's like a social advertising first strategy used to build in a core audience. And then once that core audience has been built, you then use email marketing to engage and maximize CLV, customer lifetime value. And then off the back of that, whoever sticks on your social media channels will be your earned media. Whoever sticks on your email list is your earned, you're pretty much your earned media. And that's how many brands that are launching, many direct-to-consumer brands that are launching are viewing things. Hey, we're going to have a product. Maybe we have this phone case, and we're just going to use paid advertising to scale. And then once we scale, we'll have some email marketing on the side to sort of, get that second purchase, or to claw back, abandoned cart sessions. And then finally, if anybody's on our Facebook, organic, we'll post to them, and then we'll send out campaigns. This is a very traditional way of looking at things. A more forward-thinking way to get you to $10 million or more very quickly in revenue is a situation in which you look at earned media first. You establish a product community fit. You build an engaged audience and a community around your product and your content. You create a compelling brand story and founder story. You create influencer-generated content. You have influencer-generated content. You use influencer-generated content. You use user-generated content, and you go very emotive. And where the focus of your business is to build a community. A ready-made solution for this approach is like a Kickstarter campaign. With a Kickstarter campaign, the way Kickstarter crowdfunding campaign is set up, people are so excited and souped up about the product and about just supporting the cause of that product. And they also see the social proof on the side, and then they bandy behind you. But why many crowdfunding campaigns never sort of gets to the point of being thriving direct-to-consumer businesses is because they miss the paid media, layer, and they miss the owned media layer. So in the paid media layer, you're using all of that traction from a community first approach, or product-oriented community first approach, to maximize or to seed your Facebook and just your social advertising, all of your retargeting and your social advertising. And rather than hunting for clients or for customers, for potential customers with social media first, you're feeding the social media machine learning algorithms with your ideal kind of customers, with all of the data you've gathered from your product market fit you've established. And then it gets to work a lot more efficiently because it knows exactly what you might have already had 1,000 conversions, and with 1,000 conversions, that's going to feed into your Facebook advertising, and it's just going to put you well ahead of anyone you're competing with, because you have so much conversion data, and then your lookalikes become so much easier. And just the ability for these platforms to actually find customers for you, your ideal customers, becomes so much easier because you've done a lot of the heavy lifting for these platforms. And then you're also able to repurpose content that has worked organically through influencers and user-generated content, and content you've actually created to market to them in your paid campaigns. And once that is done, then you have you can then move into your own media, where you get to work with your lifecycle marketing to maximize customer lifetime value with email marketing. So this is the ideal media mix, and this is how you should look at it, moving forward, if you really want to hit that 10 million or more in revenue quick. So this is what it looks like from a funnel perspective. So top of the funnel, rather than having Facebook driving traffic, or any social advertising driving traffic top of the funnel, you're driving top of the funnel by creating long-term partnerships with content creators and influencers, and creating content yourself. You're creating a YouTube channel, you're being active on Instagram, you're actually reaching out to people, you're reaching out to influencers to create content for you. It's called content seeding, by the way. So they seed, you give them, you seed your products to an army of influencers continuously. It has to be a long-term affair. And then they create content, they create that awareness to their micro audiences, depending on how you're going to play it. And then all of a sudden, you're getting traffic and conversions off the back of influencer marketing, right? Or even, a YouTube channel, or a or platform you're active on. It could be one or the other, it could be both. And then social media ads come in the middle at number 2, where it's more like a retargeting affair, and it would you start to look for lookalikes on there, and then you go bottom of funnel to get those first time purchases. You layer that into lifecycle marketing, right? And then at the bottom of the lifecycle marketing, you're actually seeing a community you're building, right? And at the bottom, with an active community, you will get your repurchase. The other thing to be very aware of is the power of product launches in this system, where every quarter or every 6 months you are enticing that community with new products they can potentially purchase from you. So you have to be very product and community focused business. You're building a product for a community of people, and you're always refreshing that product or increasing the portfolio of that product. So, these guys get excited. The community really get excited. So what I'm saying is your top of funnel essentially should be very content and audience driven. Whether or not you create the content or you outsource that content to influencers is really up to you. But you're using content to drive traffic through to your site to make your media buying a lot easier, and then that pipes into your life cycle marketing, building a community out and getting more consistent repurchases from your customer base, which is your community. So
thank you so much. Sorry to interrupt you, but I have a very I guess a question that's being asked here.
Sure.
And we're a bit on a time rush here, so sorry to brush you off like that. But someone is actually, people here are talking about the return per ad spend, and my question to you is basically, do you think the real problem is the ROAS, or is it actually the reach? Because people are complaining about the spend and not getting a return from it, but do you think the problem is actually the reach right now?
CPMs are increasing, right? And the issue is you cannot rely on the system anymore, on Facebook any longer, unless you have like a ridiculous product, your Apple or something, to provide top of funnel traffic to you. And because of that, CPMs are rising, the reach is limited. You do not have the numbers just don't stack up anymore. So if I spent $100 2 years ago and my reach was 5,000, if I spend the same $500 today, my reach is 3,000. You do the math. What's a conversion from 5,000? I'm saying I get a conversion rate of 1% from 5,000, and I get the conversion rate of 1% from the 3,000. I get 3 customers, and I used to get 5 customers off the back of the same spend. It doesn't stack up anymore. So you need to find alternative ways of driving traffic through, right? And then the CPMs actually reduce, because Facebook is then, you're spending a lot more money on MOF, mid-funnel advertising, and then your top of funnel really is lookalikes on what is already what's already working. So that way you're increasing your chances of success. So that is the reason why ROAS is really, really being suppressed right now. And where you're finding high ROAS from all of the accounts I've reviewed, they always have a top of funnel. And that's what this slide is all about. They either have like an influencer-led approach where they're seeding, products to like 300 influencers every month or something like that in huge numbers. Or they have an army of influencers doing their work. They have an influencer actually, being the face of their brand, or they have a community built around content, or they're doing above the line marketing if like they're funded. By that I mean, direct mail, TV show appearances, radio, outdoor, where people know them, as a brand. But besides above the line, you have this opportunity now to build out content and to work with influencers to really get your brand out there. It will cost you from a product standpoint, but just think about it as gifting, right? As if like you're trying to launch an Amazon, product, you'd have to gift, the market in order to gain that traction. So that's what you're trying to do here through influencers, and you're not going to pay them much because you're gifting them.
Makes sense, and thank you for that. It was a talk around this. We have only 1 minute and left before the next session. So I wanted to ask you: do you want to take another question, or you want to finish your presentation, and then I can tell people to reach out to you via LinkedIn. I can put your LinkedIn here.
Sure. I'll share the presentation on LinkedIn. Go for it. Go for the question.
Okay, so let me pick a good one.
Let me do this slide first.
Yeah, do the slide, and then
trajectory to growing, a business from 1 to 100 million, and I explain why. Normally, if you could go to $1 million in revenue with just paid acquisition. I've done it many times, but you have to understand that, like, you're renting, right? You're just renting the platform, and you might not be profitable. Now, if you start to create content, you start to have a voice in the market, right? And then if you start to really work on retention, you become an owner, you start to own audiences, right? You could really hit that 10 million. With the content creation, you have to start to either create content yourself in collaboration, content that's attractive to a community, or influencers help you create that content to attract people to your brand. And then when you become a movement, that is when people are really talking about you. You can really hit that 100 million mark and influencer market.
Thank you for that. I'm sorry that I have to cut you off. We're a bit behind. I put your LinkedIn right here. Please reach out to him, and please share the slides because it's amazing. I'm sorry that I have to close the, I'm here, rushing you. I will send you the questions that we receive via LinkedIn, and maybe when we email everyone here in the group, you can send the answers back to them. Is that okay?
Awesome.
Thank you so much for taking the time, and I'm sure I'm upsetting a few people, but we have to move to the next with the next session. So really nice seeing you and talking to you.
Pleasure. Okay, thank you. All right, cheers. Bye.
Bye, guys.